Welcome to the fish test, how to instantly know if they're feeding fish in your area. And it's all from one simple thing we call the ABC TRIFECTA. Hey there, I'm Joe Simons.
And I'm Luke Simons.
And we are the Salt Strong Bros. Luke, let's talk about the big problem here, right? That people spend way too much time in places that have absolutely no fish.
Yeah, that's the number one thing. It's all about finding the fish, and that's where most people struggle. That's when a lot of people go out and spend 4 hours on the water and don't catch anything or just catch some measly catfish. It's not because they didn't have the right bait or the right gear or a fancy enough boat or whatever. It's just simply because they weren't in the feeding zone. They didn't get themselves into a good spot, into the right spot at the right time.
Yep, so the great news is there is what we call the ABC trifecta. It's three things. And literally, don't fish an area that doesn't have these three things. For inshore saltwater fishing, just three things, right? So let's talk about A. What is A?
Yeah, so A is ambush. Think about ambush predators. We're talking about redfish, sea trout, snook, flounder, and a variety of others. They're ambush predators. They're not going to be holding it around this flat sand. They need structure. So they need some sort of structure, whether it's seagrass or whether it's rocks, dock pilings, bridge pilings, oyster bars. As I said before, anything other than flat sand is something that these ambush predators can use to feed, and that's where they're going to be holding. That's where they're most likely going to be holding. Yes, there are going to be some ambush predators or some snook that kind of cruise the beaches without much structure, but if there's some rocks, if there's something unique, that's where most of the fish will be holding. That's going to significantly increase your odds of finding the fish. So look for the structure where the ambush predators are going to be feeding.
Yep, and not just one type of structure. The more structures you can maximize, the more chances you maximize your chances of catching fish. So for instance, if you had a dock near an oyster bar and there's a little channel going by and there's some little rocks or like a little jetty, wow, like let's stop and fish that area, right? But so many people, we passed by one earlier, the guy's just out in the middle of nowhere and just hoping and praying that a fish might come by there. That is a horrible way to go about fishing. So maximize the amount of structure or ambush types of spots that you have, maximize the chances you're going to catch fish. So that is the A of the BC. And so here is number 2 with B, which is bait, right? Bait and obviously birds. And there's a cool little trick. This is something we did in Marco Island recently. Remember, Luke? And it was a brand new area to us. We hadn't fished this part of Marco in, 15, 20 years. So we said, you know what? We're not even going to stop until we see a white egret. And why do we do that?
Pretty simple. So egrets, first of all, they know where the food is. They're the actual pros that are on the water 24/7, and they're going to be holding in areas with food. Also, they usually will sit down there, they'll sit on mangrove branches. They also get on the oyster bars a lot. They usually hang near structure while there's food there as well. So that knocks out the first two. So just seeing white egrets, that's my favorite bird because they will most quickly show you to the food. If you see some diving pelicans, that's cool. A lot of pelicans are diving out in open water. If they're not diving near structure, it's not nearly as important as seeing an egret that has food and structure in the same spot. So that's why egrets are a tremendous bird to look for.
Yep, so if you're in a brand new spot and you're just piddling around and wondering where to, just keep going. We literally just cruised around mangrove lines until we saw a white egret. And what happened there, Luke? Literally, as soon as we started fishing, all three of us caught snook. It was like that. So let's talk about the C. This is the third part. You have to have all this, and you have to have all three of these together. A lot of people say, oh, well, I found some birds, or I found some bait, or hey, I found a little structure. No, until you have all three of these, do not fish that spot. So what is the C?
Yeah, so the C is current flow.
Yes.
And so that's one thing that, growing up as bass fishing, I really just fished lakes, and the current was the factor that I really didn't know much about. Didn't really know how to look at tide charts. I would just look at those graphs that have a bunch of numbers. So find a good tide chart that has an actual graph of what the water level is doing. And when you see that, just look for the periods when there is current flow, and then think about if it's coming in or out. And you can just look at a map of the area you're fishing, and you can basically see which zones are getting hit with current flow. And if you need help doing that, we have a ton of tutorials, but look for the areas that have some current flow. If you're fishing around an island, fish the up current side of the island, knowing that current is pushing up against that island. It's going to be pushing the bait up there near the structure, assuming there's structure on the island, and it's just going to maximize results. The up current side will usually be better than the down current side, all else being equal. So think about the current flow and specifically look for areas that, like Joe said, have the ABC. It has ambush points, so it has structure, it has bait fish, and it has current flow. If you find all three of those together, the odds of you going there and not catching any fish are very, very small.
Yep, and if you don't see all three, once again, move. It kills me sometimes we hear from people and said, man, I spent 3 hours in this one little area and I didn't catch anything. Why the heck would you stay there?
Yep.
We move about every 15 minutes. Like, it's real quick. We hit it hard, and if we're not getting strikes or seeing some signs of actual predator fish, we are bolting and moving on to the next spot. So we'll end with this. If you need help finding the exact spot to fish every weekend, that happens to be something that we do in our Insider Club. And we have some really cool software that tells you the best time to fish based on the tides and their current flow, anywhere from Texas to Virginia, and obviously every state in between. So if that sounds like something you like, click down below and we'd love to see you in the club. Otherwise, hope this was helpful. This is just one of the quick ones that we use all the time, and we know this is a pain point for so many anglers. So know that you're not alone in this, but hopefully this will simplify things. And just remember, the ABC trifecta, don't even stop in a spot unless you see all three.
Yep, thanks for watching. See you again soon.